Do you struggle with copywriting and generating sales for your business? Well, on this week's episode, I'm excited to bring on Scott Bywater as a guest. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to use AI to generate sales for your business, and we're going to go through some real examples that you can use for your own business. Scott is the wordsmith behind dozens of 6- and 7-figure email product launches. He's a copywriter, speaker, and a strategic consultant. I personally had a great time interviewing Scott. I learned a lot, and I will likely be going through this episode again myself, taking notes and basically using everything he taught me. I hope you find this episode educational and useful for your own business. Introducing the managing director of Copywriting That Sells, Scott Bywater. Welcome to the VJ Kailash Show. On this week's episode, I'm excited to have Scott Bywater join us. He is a copywriting expert. And Scott, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, no, likewise, VJ. It's great to be here.
So, let's just jump right into it. Actually, you know what? Let's back up a little bit. I'm always jumping right into it. So before that, let's hear a little bit about you. How did you get into the copywriting space? Because I've personally, I've been going down the marketing rabbit hole for the last few months, and I've been loving it, and I like the copywriting space. But how did you personally get into it, and how did you become to this expert level status?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It probably started when I was about 17. Because I started out in door-to-door sales, telemarketing, all of that sort of thing. And then I did a Jay Abraham seminar when I was about 17. It was just a one-day seminar, and my eyes sort of opened up, and I went, "Wow, this stuff's like incredible." But it wasn't until I was about 24 when I started. I actually went to a Brad Sugar's seminar. And I started a hair salon, and I used a lot of the copywriting skills in that. And that caused me to then go on and become a marketing consultant. And my wife, one day, she saw this ad for a fairly prominent direct response company. And she's like, "You should go for this job." I don't know, women's intuition or whatever. So anyway, I went for it. And long story short, the HR manager wasn't a fan because I jumped around a bit job-wise up until then, but the copywriting manager loved me. So I didn't end up getting the job, but I got the confidence. And from the moment I swapped, I learned a lot about positioning at that stage in my life, because from the moment I swapped from marketing consultant to copywriter, admittedly from a low base at the time, but my income just instantly shot up by 10 times. It was like I hit the market at the right time, right place, right time. And I'd already developed those skills because copywriting is salesmanship in print. I'd unknowingly been developing those skills for like the last 7 years. And so it came very, very naturally to me.
Thanks so much for going through that. So your income jumped 10 times, and after that you're like, oh, okay, this is a really cool thing. So let me learn a little bit better and develop my skill set. So what did you do exactly to get your sales or your income to go up 10 times? You weren't just, you're naturally gifted. I'm sure that was part of it, but I'm sure you did something to actually get the results.
No, I guess I did. It wasn't like I did anything super unique. I started to position myself as a copywriter. I told people as I was a copywriter. And I think there was just, it's like there's a saying, you got to be smart enough to know when you're getting lucky, right? So I think I was just, in the market at that time. Like now there's a lot of copywriters out there, right? And most people in business know what a copywriter is. Back then, not so much. Do you know what I mean? So in Australia, there was probably 2 or 3 other copywriters that really, in direct response, that were really known. So you sort of, it's I guess the market, it's supply and demand, right? So if you were, let's say, wanting to get into Facebook ad and you jumped into that right in the beginning, you could have an edge, you'd be in demand, all of that sort of thing. Whereas if you're starting now, I'm sure you could still do okay, but it's just it's a bit of a harder road. Do you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
I look at it as like a wave in a, when you're at the beach and you're looking to catch. I don't surf, but I can body surf. But if you want to catch a wave, right? If you get on too early, if you try and do it too early, it just sort of it dumps you. If you go too late, you go over the wave. But if you get it just right, you cruise in, and it's not really that you're doing anything special. You're just at the right place at the right time. But knowing where I sort of did that by chance, right? But I think a skill that we can develop as entrepreneurs and business owners is really looking at when we can catch where those waves are, and how we can catch them as they're moving.
I think that's a great way to put it. Great analogy about the waves and make sure you catch the right wave. So bring that into a copywriting kind of standpoint. You said Facebook, if you start now, it's a harder path. And well, I know I want to bring this conversation to this area, but with AI being kind of new and ChatGPT and all of that, what is your thoughts on using AI to copyright? Are we too late for that? Is it too early, or kind of where are we on that wave metaphor?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I actually got into AI before it became trendy, which has only really been in the last 60 days or so. So I started to use it last year. I created an email marketing product based around the AI concept. And where AI is really good is that there's a couple of areas where, and I use ChatGPT. It's amazing. You jump into ChatGPT and you go, write me an email for a job application for a manufacturing firm, and it'll punch out like this whole email, right? So people are like, wow, this is like incredible. The issue is with I've got with ChatGPT is the granularity of it. So yes, it can do that, but if I want to go back and go, okay, get it, if I want to customize it to my fears, pains, desires, and of my customer, and really enter the conversation in their mind. And then if I want to add a little bit to what they've said or delete what they've said and add my own stuff and that sort of thing, it doesn't do that. Whereas Jasper it's incredible at that side of it. So from a writing perspective, I prefer Jasper as the platform, and I'm sure there's other platforms out there that are good as well. But that's what I've found to be quite incredible. So in terms of where it really is incredible, like from a research perspective, like I was doing research with a client a couple of days ago, and I do fairly thorough research. So it's like, what are the fears? What are the pains? What are the desires? Because copywriting is all about entering the conversation going on in the customer's mind. And they're like, well, I don't know what the fears of my client, my customer are. And so we put it into Jasper and we go, list 10 fears of my target market. And it will literally just within 3 seconds or 5 seconds or whatever, it'll be 10 fears. You want 10 more fears? Bang, you do it again. So in that way, it's more powerful than the human mind in that sort of thing. And then you can go through it and you go, okay, that one's relevant. That's not, that is, that's not. And it sort of speeds up that process. So it's very powerful from that perspective. The other area that it's very powerful from, in addition to that, is like like if you're writing and you know how to program. We spent about 20 hours programming the AI or developing a programming language for the AI. So if then you go in and you can write copy quite quickly and it gets you started. Now that doesn't mean that you can't personalize it, right? It doesn't mean you have to sound like a robot or there can't be any heart in your copy or anything like that. But what holds people back, like I'll use emails as an example. What holds people back with emails is they don't know what to write about, and the AI can quickly fix that problem. You literally have hundreds of things to write about if you ask it and you know how to ask it, and they don't know how to get started. So, but if you know the right prompts, you can literally prompt it, and you can have the framework for an email written within minutes, if not within less than a minute. So it's very it's very powerful from that sort of perspective.
Okay, so you spent most of this time talking about Jasper AI. I haven't used it yet. That's what you recommend that copywriters use.
From a copywriting perspective, like if you're a business owner, you're a copywriter, I think it's far more practical than ChatGPT, just because it's far more flexible. Because what it is, it's like I think they call it boss mode or something. In that mode, it can actually be like it's almost like a Google Doc, right? So you can go in there, you can ask it a command, it'll punch out a bit. Or you might just be writing in it, and then you're like, what am I going to say next? And then you put, for instance, I call them sentence starters. You go, for instance, and then you just hit compose, and it'll punch out the next sentence. Now you might not use it exactly, but you might adapt it. But it gives you that, it reads everything above, then gives out a logic, or what it considers a logical, practical next step. But it stops that blinking cursor, if you like, where you're just like, I don't know what to write next, like I think particularly for non-writers, it's incredible. Like I don't see it replacing your, top shelf copywriters anytime soon. I think maybe down the track it could, like it's getting more and more intelligent. Maybe, I don't know, like the human mind is just is incredible, right? So it could definitely have an impact anyway. But yeah, I'm a bigger fan of Jasper for copywriting than let's say ChatGPT, which is obviously the most popular one, or the most known one at the moment.
Yeah, of course. So when it comes to tonality, let's say you're writing something, do you find that to be an issue using AI, or is that something that you still need to have that human touch when you're having these copy being written?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the whole thing is bringing your, I think it'll get to a stage where you can plug in all your past articles, and then it'll come back with, your tone, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? I think it'll eventually get to that stage, so where it almost like writes like you. However, I think it's a hybrid. You've got to bring in aspects of yourself. Like, for instance, I don't know what happened to you yesterday, but I don't imagine the AI knows what happened to you yesterday and can pull out a story that's unique to you, right? So you might be writing in the like for instance, in the program that I do, it'll have like we've got problem aggravation solution sort of frameworks, and we've got myth busting frameworks in terms of emails, right? So, but what we will do within that is we might have, let's say halfway through it might be write a story from a client who experienced this problem, and starting with, it really bothered me, or whatever that story is, and it will actually write that story. Now it's not a true story, right? It's an AI story, but what it gives you is, particularly as a non-writer, it gives you a framework. So then you can just go in there and you can adjust that story to something that is actually accurate. Do you know what I mean? But you don't have to do all the thinking and sit there and go, what am I going to say? And that's where I think it's super powerful right now, is it just speeds up that process. So, because I know people, and it's like, I mean, they're like, it takes me 2 hours to write an email. I'm like, 2 hours to write an email? You're kidding. Like as a writer, I mean, I can whip up an email if it's about myself and I know the topic. Bit different if it's a totally new topic and you've got to do research, because research is so important. But if I'm across it, I can whip one up in like 15 minutes, right? But a lot of people can't. So it's very powerful for your non-writer, because I mean, 2 hours, if you're, let's say, spending an hour a week, like think of it like this, that's 2 hours times 50, it's like 104 hours a year. If you can cut that down to, let's say, half an hour or 10 minutes, like let's just say half an hour, right? Like instead of doing 104 hours a year, now you're doing 26 hours a year. That means you've saved 78 hours. Now, let's just say your hourly rate, we'll pick a number, is $100 an hour. Well, all of a sudden, 78 hours, that's $7,800 that is worth to you this year. or 78,000 over the next 10 years. Do you know what I mean? So that's where I think it's extremely powerful, is the speed which it gives you to actually be able to put together. And like I talk about email, but you can use it for anything, right? Like it doesn't matter. The only thing I would be careful of is like SEO content. I think you've just got, if you're going to use it for SEO content, you want to make sure that you personalize it, because I can see Google in the future punishing AI specific content. Nobody knows what's going to happen, but I could see that on the horizon.
Wow, that's really interesting because I was thinking about starting up my blog again and using AI to basically generate articles, but then personalize it. Basically, like what you said, like create the framework using AI and then go through kind of sentence by sentence, adding my own personal touch. Do you think something with the personal touch mixed with AI would also get punished potentially by Google, or is it just 100% AI would likely get punished?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. There is a tool called. I've got a friend who's like, extremely technical, and he dives into it and he puts it into this and then across to that, and he does all of these things. But there's a tool, I think it's called Originality.ai. So I haven't used it, but I have heard about it. And I would look into that if I was going to do blog post type of things, because then what you can do is I don't think it's perfect, but if you punch it in, I have also heard that when you do that with ChatGPT, it comes up as a much higher level of non-original content or AI-based content. But that's what I would be doing. I'd be finding something like Originality AI. So I'd write it with the AI while you want to bring in yourself into it anyway, right? Because the problem is when something becomes, like when we all got smartphones, all of a sudden there's video everywhere, right? So how do you distinguish your videos? You got to do something different. Do you know what I mean? Like when everyone has the same tools, how do you actually stand out? Which is the question. And I still, like, if you send me just let's say you're a carpet cleaner and you send me the same emails as every other carpet cleaner, well, how do you distinguish yourself? So I think you want to be putting in some of yourself into whatever you're doing. Do you know what I mean? I think that is important.
And so, kind of going off that, if you were to create an email to email your client list or prospect list using AI, what would be the best way to, I guess, sell a product? I have a course, so let's just use that as an example. Could we walk through an example of how I could use AI to promote my course?
Yeah. What sort of course is it?
It's an investment course teaching people how to invest and retire early.
Okay. Yeah. No, beautiful, beautiful. So there's a little bit of a process, because it's the AI is one component of it, right? But you've still got to make the emails. They've still got to be effective. So what I advise, like what I would do if I was, let's say, consulting to you or advising you, I would start with doing a deep dive and going, who's your target market? What are their fears, pains, desires? What are their beliefs? What are the objections? What are the problems? All of those, I'd be going through that in detail, and I'd be using the AI to help with that, right? So you know what they are, but there's things you might not think of that the AI will trigger in there. Plus, I would really get to know your story. Do you know what I mean? So why do you do what you do? It's a whole this isn't an AI thing, but this is like Simon Sinek's Start With Why. Yeah, people don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it. So getting really clear on your story and what makes this investment course unique over the others. So, and what's your process? What process are you going to, from sad face, I don't know how to invest, to happy face, I'm making, thousands of dollars investing. What's the process that you do to take them there? Yeah, so that would be the first phase. The second phase is really creating your landing pages. So like, let's say it's an appointment close. We need a page that people go to, so you don't end up like those, let's say football teams, so they get the ball to the 5-yard line and they drop it, right? Which is, you've got to have a call to action to take people to. And people make that mistake with content as well. They don't build out a funnel and they just create content. but you've got to bring people in and actually move it towards closing the sale, because marketing is a bit like a football team. If your defense is weak or your attack is weak, the whole thing's gonna collapse. You're not going to score the goal. So I get really clear on that. Then I would give you frameworks for how do we actually close this? How do we close the emails? Do you know what I mean? I do things called open loop offers, and what that means is, and we see it in TV all the time. So on TV, like you're watching the morning show, and they're like, "Come back after the break, and we'll introduce you to a dog that does somersaults and catches bananas." And you're like, "Oh, I need to come back after the break and catch this," right? So you want to be using open loop offers to actually tease people. So it might be like, there's one technique, as an example. There's one technique that where if you do this before you invest in crypto, it doubles your chances of success. Would you like to know what that one technique is? Then click here. Or it's all inside my XYZ course. Take a look at it here. And you're like, oh, I want to know what that one technique is, and you sort of move across to that. So you're getting clear on that, right? And then, you're moving into then creating based on all of the research you've done, you create an email blueprint. And that blueprint, when you fill it out, you use that with each email you create via the AI. Yeah, so you're inserting that in. Yeah, you're inserting that in on Jasper. Like on the left hand side, there's like a sort of description which you put in, which helps Jasper write the copy. So you do the blueprint with all the fears, pains, desires, all of that sort of thing in there, and then that allows you to punch out the emails, quite quickly. But you've got a landing page to send them to. You've got good closes, all of that sort of thing. And then you can go out, and there is a step before that too. You need to work out what your content calendar. What am I going to write about? And the AI will help you with that as well. So it's a process, but it's a little bit like VJ. If you've got to, with everything you do, you've got to earn the right. Like I've worked with a number of builders over the last 12 months in writing copy. Now you can't just go out and just. Like if you say to me today, I want to build a house, I'm not just going to go to your home and just start get a wheelbarrow of bricks and just start dropping them all over the place, right? I'm going to think through the design. I'm going to, create a plan. I'm going to create a project plan. I'm going to do all of those sort of things in order to earn the right to actually build your home. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's the same with email, with email marketing. You need the right platform in place, so then you can really, then you can create those emails like super fast, and know that they're actually heading towards the direction you want them to do, which is to book your calendar with leads and appointments.
Wow, that was a very great explanation. So spending a lot of your time creating the framework and basically getting the process in place, and then use the AI to actually execute, kind of get it done, but you still have to do the behind the scenes kind of work, right, to get everything in place.
Yeah, and it's like anything. Like AI is a super powerful tool, but like if you hand someone a chainsaw and they don't know how to use it, they could cut off their arm, right? So you got to earn the right to use the chainsaw, right? You got to go through the training and it might not be a massive long training, but you need to know how to use that before you start using it. And AI is the same. It's a powerful, powerful tool, but you want to train yourself in how to use it so you can get the most out of it.
Got it. Yeah. Could we change the conversation or switch it a little bit more to the copywriting specifics? I know there's certain phrases and words and sentences you can use that can help increase your conversions throughout your professional career. Do you mind sharing some of those phrases that you think have significantly helped improve conversions?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I mean, I don't know if it's phrases as such. Like phrases can definitely help, right? But let me take a step back and go. The number one thing to write good copy, again, it comes down to the research component, right? So you need to get really, really clear on the research, understanding. Number one is you understand your target market so intimately that they're just like, there's like so much trust. Yeah, there's so much trust there. Like there's phrases like, how to, or this is why that you can use, or this will make you, like they're really quite powerful. And who was it? BuzzSumo. If you Google it, like top headlines by BuzzSumo and do like a Google search of that, you'll get some. They actually did it. I think they used AI and they went through all the posts online and all this sort of thing, and they came up with some incredible phrases. And there is one 4-letter word that I use more than I mean, I don't know if more than any other, but if you want to get a headline open, this is probably the most powerful word to use in an email. And if you remind me, I'll tell you at the end of the podcast exactly what that word is.
This is exactly what you're telling me about the copy, making me wait till after the commercial to hear.
Yeah, it's the open loop, right? It's the open loop.
Yeah, you got me there.
If you just tell it, then there's no there's no excitement. But it's also there's another reason why I say wait until the end, because it actually really gets across a point about that particular word. But yeah, so it is words, but it's also relevance, right? Like if you don't, like, you can use the fanciest words in the world, but if you've got back pain and I'm talking about knee pain, I'm not going to grab your attention, no matter how amazing my prose is, no matter if I say this will make your knee pain disappear. If you don't have it, then you don't care. And that sounds a bit obvious, but there's nuances, right? So if I really understand what your problem is to such a degree, then you're going to listen, because when someone understands you, it's almost like automatic trust. You're like, how did they know that? Like if you went into let's say you had some weird sort of disease, right? And, or weird condition, and you walked into the doctor's office and the doctor said, listen, do you get itching at like 3:07 a.m. in the morning? And then does it disappear after like 18 minutes? But after 16 minutes, you get excruciating pain in your belly button, right? And you're like, yes, I do. And you're like, how did this guy know that? Do you know what I mean? So, and it's the same. Like, let's say if you're looking to build a house, right? And you're worried about, is the builder going to rip me off? You're worried about, you're thinking, how do I get the design right? You've got all of these conversations going on in your mind at that time. If I know what that conversation is, and I can enter that conversation going on in your mind, there's just like there's massive trust built, and it's just like, oh, this person gets me. And that's really the key, is when you write copy, you want it to be, obviously, having curiosity and all that sort of thing is critical, but you also want it to be, oh, this person gets me. They understand me, and they understand where I am in the cycle. So if you're writing, let's say, weight loss copy 50 years ago, it's going to be very different copy than it is today, because 50 years ago, it's probably a new industry, somewhat new industry, and you could probably get away with how to lose weight, and that would be a good ad, right? But you try and get away with that today, and it's very different, because the level of awareness of the prospects, they've already tried 27 things to lose weight, none of them have worked. They've been, they feel like they've been ripped off multiple times. So you've got to enter there's a totally different conversation going on in the customer's mind, and you've got to enter it where they're at. And you can only do that by doing the work to really understand them. I mean, if you really want to deep dive into this, there's a great book by Adele Ravella called Buyer Personas, and she really, like, I do it with clients at times if I'm going really deep with the client, but it's where you interview clients who bought from you and clients who haven't bought from you, and you ask them, what triggered you to actually make coming to the physiotherapist a priority? And it's like, and then what did you do before you came here? Did you get a recommendation? look up 27 blogs. Like, what do you do in that process? So she calls them the 5 buying rings. But by doing that deep research, you actually understand your prospect on such a deep level, and you understand the way they communicate, and then you can feed that back to them. So but as a general entrepreneur, you might not want to do that. You have an advantage if you are writing your own copy, because you are having those conversations on a day-to-day basis. So you've already got a lot of research, but you do need to put it down on paper and like prioritize it to clarify your thinking about that sort of thing.
That's incredible advice. Thank you so much for going through that. So I guess when it comes to finding your ideal prospect or your dream client, what exactly do you need to know about them? I know some people create avatars of their prospect, and it's like, oh, Betty's my client. She has 2 kids, a dog, a husband. Like, they create a fake persona, but could you talk a little bit more about this process of creating and what you should and shouldn't do when you create an avatar?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's sort of, I look at some avatars, like it depends how deep you want to go. Like it's useful to know, hey, they're 35 and they're a soccer mom and do you know what I mean? Like that sort of thing. But if you dive into, if you do stuff like the buyer persona stuff, or if you've got an email list, if you can go out and reach out to your prospects. And even if you ask, there's a number of questions you can ask, and you can go deep into this research stuff. But two questions to ask is, what are your biggest challenge? Everyone knows what the challenges is. They don't necessarily know what they want. But let's say in your case, right, with investing, what are your biggest challenges with investing? And people will tell you, oh, I don't have the time. I'm worried I'm going to lose money. All of these sort of things, right? So then at the end of that, what you do is you can categorize it. Let's say you get 50 responses and you're like, oh, 40 people said they don't have enough time to invest. Well, that tells you what your angle for your copy is. It's like I've created the investment course for people who have no time. Do you know what I mean? Like that's your angle. But if you don't have that knowledge, doesn't matter how fancy the words you use. If you're talking about something that they just don't care about, you've lost them, sort of thing. Yeah. So it doesn't matter how fancy your words are. So research like that is and another question is, if you had any 2 questions for me, what would they be? Now, a little spin on this, and I was listening to this the other day, and I thought to myself, oh, I should have done this like years ago. How much money have I lost by not doing this? But if you go through that survey process and then you make an offer at the end of the survey, I was listening to someone the other day, and they're like, that can bring in a small fortune. So you can send out, like, let's say you go through and you put them through a Survey Monkey or something like that. And then the page after the survey, it says, hey, thanks for filling out the survey. Because you filled it out today, I've got a super special offer, one-time offer. And then you make the offer. So it can also be a great, it's like a 1-2 punch, right? It's like heaven. You not only get all this data, but you make a whole heap of sales at the same time. So that's something. So that's really powerful from a research perspective, is to go through those questions. Other questions is like, what's your biggest gripes with the industry? I once asked that question to a client, and he just went on for like 15 minutes about the marketing industry. I'm like, oh, that was insightful. So he's still a client. He was one of my first clients. He's been with me for like 10 or 15 years or something, but or probably longer, probably close to 20. But yeah, he just like totally didn't like the marketing industry, and it was like really insightful to hear what people actually think of that, and then to know then how I go about pitching my services to people, because I understand that. But you can do that. It's always more powerful on the phone, right? It's probably more powerful to do like the Adele Revell buyer personas process to really go deep. But in a way, the survey is very powerful, because you might talk with 5 people and get like a biased view, whereas a survey, let's say you get 50 responses and you go 40 people say this, you know that for sure. So if you can combine the two, it's great. A lot of people do the simplified version of, they're 35 to 40, they're this, they got 2 kids, they're that, but it's more, you can definitely go a lot deeper and get better results. Like that's okay, but there are ways to get far more substance to your survey results, and that will help you, VJ, right throughout the like content creation, branding, everything. Like it's so critical, because how can you create content if you don't know what your prospects' problems are? Do you know what I mean? How can you create content which really hits them if you don't know what their frustrations, what their problems, what they want to hear about, what questions they've got for you? I mean, it's the ultimate content creation sort of platform. I mean, you could ask on your podcast, you could say, what problems are you guys suffering from? Let me know. And then based on that, then you can invite podcast guests which address those problems, right? So that's and then if you do that, people want to tune into your podcast more because they're getting their specific problems solved and they feel listened to and all that sort of thing. It's the same with content or copy or right across the board.
So basically, ask your dream client exactly what they're looking for and provide them the value that they're looking for. It's as simple as that, right? Look at what they want and give it to them.
Yeah, and when you said dream client, this is a really important distinction, right? Because when you do the interviews, what you probably want to do is you want to, like, let's say, rather than just sending to everyone in your email list, you want to send one email with one link to, let's say, your prospects, and another email with another link to your clients. And you might even do another one with your dream client, because that's a really important thing. And if you're interviewing people for the buyer persona stuff, you probably want to interview your dream clients and not, do you know what I mean? Like if your dream client is like someone who's got a turnover of $5 million and they've got 20 staff and that sort of thing, you don't want to be interviewing, the company that's, in startup mode, if that's not, because that's not what you want, right? You want to go to where you want to get the feedback from the people who you want to attract more of.
Wow, that's really great insight. I didn't realize, I just assumed dream client is what everyone's going for, but I realize I am not even making that intentional effort myself. And here's a formal invite. If you guys have any questions or guest recommendations or topics you want to learn about, please use Scott's initiative to reach out to me, and so I can bring on the right guests for all of you to listen to. So Scott, thank you so much for that. I want to shift the conversation a little bit. You mentioned something known as the third way technique earlier, and I'd love to hear more about that and what it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what happens with emails, right, is you see companies take two directions with it. One is they take the scorched earth approach. And what the scorched earth approach is they just pitch to their, to the people on their email list. And the problem with that is after a time, it's like me, like me calling you every day. And every time I'm like, hey, VJ, do you want to buy this product? And we're friends. And I'm like, hey, VJ, do you want to buy this? And like soon you don't want to take my calls, right? Because it's not your priority or you're not getting value from that relationship. So you've got the scorched earth approach. And then on the other side, but you've got the love letters approach, right? So people are just like, they're just giving content, all of the content, but they're never asking for the sale. They're never asking for anything. And so they don't they don't really monetize their list. And maybe if they're not monetize it, they eventually give up, which isn't good for it's not good for the email subscriber and it's not good for them. So what I've developed is something I call the third way, which is, if you can imagine a Venn diagram, it goes in the middle. It's that sweet spot in the middle. And where the third way is so powerful is you can incorporate them in the same email. So if I'm writing something about investment, like what's a topic you might write about on investment?
Index funds, investing in the S&P 500.
So investing in the S&P 500. So you can say the mistake people make when they invest in the S&P 500 is they do this. Do you know what I mean? Like what is the mistake they make when they invest in the S&P 500?
They do this. We'll go with that. But no, I mean, there's no. I think big mistakes are trying to time the market and predicting where the tops and bottoms are. And so they sell after the market goes down, then they buy after the market recovers instead of just holding it and waiting for the market to recover.
Perfect. So if we transcribe that, right, that could be the foundation of an email. And an email, you want to like talk the way I call it talk right, talk right. So if you're not using AI, talk like you did just then. And there's another AI tool, which I also recommend using, even if you're using the more updated AI, is something like Otter, the transcription AI. That's really powerful because we could transcribe what you said there. That could be the beginning of an email, right? Because that's quite valuable. And the number one mistake you make, you try and time the market. And the problem with timing the market is this happens, this happens, this happens. And it's just not a win. So but then at the end of it, you're like, well, how do I segue? I've given all this value. So you might go, so that's a mistake, but would you like to know how you can actually, there is one way that you can time the market, right? And that might just be being in the market for, like being in the market for a consistent time, and then you get the right time. There is one way you can time the market, and I reveal what it is in this video. Click here to check it out. And you're like, oh, I need to go and click it, right? And then I click on it, and there's a video of you going, hey, this is what you do to time the market. And it's like you start off with that, but then maybe it's like a 10-minute sales pitch, which then leads me into your product. So but I'm not going, when I get the next email, I'm not like VJ always sends me sales pitches. You're sending content, I click on it, I go to there, and then you're still even delivering content, and then you're segueing into a sales pitch. So that's the third way. Now, the other open loop you can have in that email is you can then have PS, tomorrow I'll be sharing the second biggest mistake that people make when they invest in the fund. And I only discovered this one day after I lost $50,000 on a trade. I'll share what that is tomorrow. And then it's like all of a sudden I'm looking forward to the next email. I'm like, what's VJ going to be sharing tomorrow? So when the next email comes through, I'm like more likely to open it. And then you repeat that process. You repeat that process over and over again where you're delivering the great content. Now, of course, you can throw in things like the Dean Jackson as a thing that he was credited for sort of inventing this, like the 9-word email, like, hi VJ. You might have quick question in the subject line. Hi VJ, are you still thinking of becoming a trader? Question mark, Scott. And you'll get a lot of replies to that. If obviously you can't do that all the time, right? But if you're consistently delivering quality content and then you come out with that, and that, like, people go, yeah, I am, because it's quite personal and it's direct. So you can throw in things like that, and you can throw in the occasional sales pitch, but you want it to be overall that third way technique brings the best of both worlds together.
I think that's a great technique. Is there a ratio of how much value you should deliver for every time you ask for them to check out the product?
I think you can do it every time if you're using the third way technique. So I think you can segue into that offer each time because you're leading with value, right? And if they don't want to click on it, they just don't click on it because it's like a paragraph at the end of the email. But yeah, if you're going to do sales pitches, I think it comes down to jab, jab, right hook that Gary Vaynerchuk is famous for. But yeah, you've got to throw those jabs, give quality content, and then occasionally you do a sales pitch or a pitch or something. I don't know if there's an exact ratio, but I think if it's like you want it to be at least three out of 4, I would think is what you want. I think even more than that if you can. But I think it's the same as anything. If every time you're talking with someone they're delivering value to you, you want to pick up the phone next time.
Right.
But you still, like, if they've got an offer, you'll listen to what they have to say, right? So if you look at the way to really look at this is like personal relationships, So if we're friends, we're talking, every month or something, and then I go, hey VJ, have you considered this? And you're going to listen to me, right? Whereas if you haven't heard from me in if it's one of your school friends, you've lost touch for like 40 years. And then they just call you up and they go, hey, VJ, I've got this new sort of, this new thing that I'm into. Do you want to buy it? Like just straight off the bat. You're going to be a bit like, I don't know, it just feels a bit strange, right? Because you're like, we haven't talked for 40 years and you call me up and you're pitching me something. So it's the same with the email. It's very much the same as personal relationships on scale, because again, it all comes down to salesmanship in print.
That's really, really powerful. Thanks for that. I have a question on kind of going a little bit deeper into that. So I have an email mini course for free where people can go to optionssellingsecrets.com, put in your email, and you get literally 7 days of free content. I'm not pitching anything. It's purely here's education, and then come back the next day for more. Do you recommend me to have a call to action at the end of each day? I have call to actions at the end of the 7th day, but nothing for the first week. I'm just giving free value. Is that a good or bad thing? Or do you think, what should I do there?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think, I mean, the fact that they're coming to your, they like, this is right at the beginning of the relationship, right? So they don't know you, they don't have that sort of relationship, anything. I'm okay with maybe not making a pitch in every single offer in that sort of case, because you're building trust and all of that sort of thing, and then you make an offer. What happens after the 7th day?
Then they continue getting value from me through emails, but just talking about the success our students have had. And if they're interested in joining the program, they can. But the first 7 days is purely just, hey, this is actual education. You can use it and implement it without asking them to buy anything. It's purely like, hey, here you go. Enjoy, have fun, have a good day.
Yes. Well, one thing you could consider doing, and again, it all comes to testing, VJ, because it's every market is different, right? But one thing I would consider doing is even turning it into almost like a challenge or a launch. I've seen this. I've had clients in the fitness space where they sort of do this, where it's almost like when they sign up for the email, maybe you could put them into a Facebook group, and you could have a bit of a challenge type of thing, and get even more engagement. The other thing you could do is very much like the product launch formula, where you build, you give content, and then you build up to a launch day. So you say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to be opening the doors on my option selling secrets product, and if you buy tomorrow, we've got a one-off discount, blah blah blah, or if you buy tomorrow, you're going to get these bonuses and that sort of thing. So I've had a lot of success with the product launch formula. I've sort of combined a couple of things from Frank Kern and Jeff Walker from the product launch formula. But I've done launches to lists where we've made $500,000 literally within a week, and I've done a number of like 6-figure launches in that way using that formula. So one thing you could do. And we've done it when people have just opted in too. We took what worked to the whole list and then applied it to when people had just opted in, and it worked really well. So you could do it where you still use that same content, but then you do an opening and you open you do a bit of excitement before the launch. On the launch day, you do the offer, and then you keep giving content, but at the end of the launch, at the end of that process, you do a close. Do you know what I mean? So you just keep the similar format, but you got the opening before the launch day, some more content, and then you do the close. And you could do it over like 10, 12, 14 days if you wanted to. And that, I think, because what you'll find is you get most of the sales when you open, and then when you close the offer. And I think that would work better for you, because if you're just doing it after 7 days, you make the offer and then they moved on, I think you probably lose that opportunity a little bit of what was there, of having like a closed offer for like 5 days or 3 days or something like that. That's like a one-off offer for them.
Got it. So could he talk about how to close the offer? I mean, how do I make it so the offer is closed for them, but other people can still access it?
Yeah, no, great question. So to close the offer, like you would need to make a special offer for people who are going in early, right? So then you'd have your retail price, and you'd have a special offer to them. So they can still get it afterwards, but they're just not going to get this offer. So, and you might have, whether it's a lower price, whether you overload it with bonuses and that sort of thing, but it needs to be something that's special to them. But then it's just, then on the close, like you're just going through and you're saying, okay, this offer disappears at 6 p.m. tonight. Yeah. And what I would do, like you could open it, like let's say you open it on a Wednesday and you're going to close it on a Sunday, right? So you open it on the Wednesday, you're like, now you can get this product, it's open, et cetera, et cetera. And then the other emails are sort of content emails in between then, but you're going, this is still, it's still going to be on the table it's only on the table for another 72 hours. It's only on the table for another 48 hours, but you're delivering content throughout that. And then on the final day, what I would do, I'd do more of a sales message. Hey, this is closing today. And what I do with the clickers, like with people who've actually clicked on a link and gone to the sales page only, I would send them 3 emails on that last day. So I would sort of, 4 hours to go, 1 hour to go. Do you know what I mean? So that they're like, but I would only send that to the clickers. So, and what that means is if people haven't clicked on it, they're not that interested. So you don't want to like slam them with emails. But if they have clicked, they are quite interested. So you can give them a couple of extra emails to get them over the line. And then once they're done that, it's like, hey, it's closed, and you just move on and you move them across into your main list sort of thing.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. And I want to start the wrap up process just because we've been going on for over 50 minutes and I've been getting so much value from this. I hope everyone in the audience has been too. So thank you so much, Scott. Scott, do you have a piece of advice for the audience?
Yeah. A piece of advice in terms of copywriting or in terms of marketing?
Copywriting, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think with copy, it all comes down to just taking the time to do the research. And it depends what you want to get. I mean, I think every entrepreneur really should understand copy, whether you're going to do it yourself or whether you're going to outsource it. Because what more powerful skill is there? Powerful marketing skill is there, right? It's literally the essence of everything that you're going to do for written communication. And if you understand copy, you also understand sales as well. So you understand how to sell face-to-face, all of that sort of thing. So it's just such a critical skill. But take the time to research, take the time to read the books about copy, whether it's Victor Schwab's How to Write a Good Advertisement, whether it's anything by Gary Halbert Jay Abraham's more marketing, but it's critical, his sort of stuff, because copy is like it's as much about strategy as it is about the actual words. So and it's like anything, if you put the time in, you get good at it.
Thank you for that. And I was going to ask for book recommendations. You just gave a handful of those, so I'll definitely put those in the show notes. And here's a reveal, right? What was the 4-letter word that you hid from us the entire show?
No, absolutely. So a lot of people think, it's free, or it's like one of those obvious ones, right? And I discovered the 4-letter word really by chance, because I've got a client, they've got a list of like 2 million people or something, and I've been writing email subject lines for them for like 18, or it's since after my son was born. So it's probably close to 17 years now. And so I've been writing these email subject lines, and I found that this was just going into the subject lines. And the reason it works so effective is for much the same reason as you're like hanging on right now, right? Because you're like, what is it? What is this word?
Can I guess?
What is this word? Yeah, have a guess.
Gosh, wild guess. I don't know if it's even accurate, but their name?
No.
Oh, dang.
So you're going, what is this word? What is this word? And it gets curiosity, right? And I actually used it in that last sentence when I said, what is this word? Can you guess it now?
What?
No, this.
Oh, this. Okay.
This. Yeah. And the reason it's so powerful, right, is because it's why I wanted to wait till the end, because it encourages curiosity. So when you hear the word, like if I said the word is this versus what is this word, the word this, it's like, I don't know what it is yet. Do you know what I mean? So if I say, like a very simplistic example, the best way to lose weight is to eat less. You go, okay, that's great. I don't need to know anymore. You've told me what it is. So I don't need to read another sentence. You've told me it's to eat less. But if I said, this is the best way to lose weight, all of a sudden you know, what is it? This, and you can obviously make that sexier, proven by over 6,372 scientists. This is the best way to lose weight in 2023. You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh, I want to read that, right? So the power of this, it just opens it up. And I think you can also use it like in your email closes, right? Like, how do you trade better? This is the best way. Click here to find out, find out what it is. So you can use it in there, but it's very, very powerful in subject lines. And if you look up the BuzzSumo, like the best headlines and all that sort of thing, I discovered this later. You'll find that word in there quite a bit as well. And like, this will make you is a really this will make you a better trader, because it almost feels like the work's being done for me, right? It's like, oh, this will make me a better trader. Fantastic, So yeah, it's very powerful from that perspective.
That's incredible. I mean, go change all my copy right now, just this. And no, thank you so much, Scott. I absolutely love this conversation. I learned so much, and I'm going to go through this after this airs and take notes for myself and just study this conversation. So again, I thank you so much. I'm sure our audience is going to get a lot of value from this. So where can our audience get in touch with you, Scott, learn more about you, what you do, and possibly work with you?
Yeah. So really two ways. One is from the email AI, I've got a program called the Simple Email ROI System. So if you check out simpleemailroi.com, and you can find out all about that. And depending on when this airs, there should be some really good reports on there on that page as well very shortly, which really relate to which really give you, some of the prompts to use in the AI. And I'm even about to finish one about blog posts and how to turn your blog posts into email using, by leveraging AI. So you can go there. And the other one is copywritingthatsells.com.au. If you need more sort of bespoke help with your copywriting and generating leads and getting clients and all of that sort of thing. So either of those two places, you'll find me.
Perfect. I'll link all of this in the show notes. Scott, thank you so much for your time. I've loved it.
Yeah, no, great. Thanks for having me, VJ. It's been a fun conversation.
Hey, it's VJ. If you liked this video, you are going to love this video. Make sure you click it, leave questions in the comments, and I'm here to help however I can. Hope you have a great day.